Hi, this is Tom from Rockland Web Design. Thanks for tuning in again on our series on how you as a business professional can help to create compelling web content and ultimately get more visitors to come to your website and ultimately have them do one of a few things. One, pick up the phone and start dialing, or possibly buy a product or service off of your website. This is the third of the three components that we've been talking about over the last few weeks. The first being able to put really interesting material on your website. I recommend do-it-yourself material for your audience so that they realize that you are an expert in your industry. We did that 2 weeks ago. Last week we talked about social media, how you can put posts out on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter that are interesting to your audience and don't get lost in the news feed of minutia with all the other stuff that's going on in the world today. Today we're going to talk a little bit about newsletters, and by newsletters I mean specifically email marketing newsletters. Another quick story. I did not believe in newsletters up until about 7 to 8 months ago. I always relied on word of mouth, social media, a little bit of print advertising, a lot of networking. I didn't like doing the email newsletters. And the reason why is because, and it goes back to that do it unto others as you would have them do unto you thing. How many emails do you get per day? You probably are sitting at your computer, and I think the statistics show that every person, every business professional out there typically spends about an hour of their day just reading and answering emails. So it concerned me to put an email out there that was going to, one, get lost in the fold, or two, just be annoying to the general public. So I refrained from doing that. I started looking at it a different way. You know, obviously the Captain Obvious thing was to get more business, but also after these videos started, after these educational pieces started, I was thinking maybe this is a good way to show people how to do certain things in order to benefit their business. So we started creating video series, we started creating blog posts, and we started creating more material that was interesting to who we perceive to be our target audience. And also we added in a little element, I don't know if you've caught our newsletters, but something kind of interesting. We added in a little rock video every week from a local band. I'm a drummer myself, so I have an appreciation for the local music scene. And we put out some different videos on YouTube for bands like Cedar Blue, The Lift, the Jam Cats. So pretty cool stuff. Hopefully you tune in. But today I'm going to show you how to create a very compelling newsletter, and we'll talk about some other elements. So when you usually get a newsletter, all right, the first thing is, are you going to open the darn thing? Taking that aside for a moment, typically the newsletter has your banner and it has like about maybe 10 different items on it and so on and so forth. In some cases there will be a sidebar, there will be a footer with some additional information, and so on and so forth. Well, that's all well and good, but the truth of the matter is, if you have this much stuff on a newsletter, probably about 80% of your audience is going to tune out. Because the truth of the matter is, you only have maybe a few seconds to grab them, okay? So let's erase this for a moment. Let's think about this from the perspective of your visitors, your customers, the people that you want to ultimately come to your website. All right? Forgive that extra little mark there. All right. So the first thing is, when you send out the email newsletter, do you have something compelling to tell them in one line or less? And what that is, that's the subject line. Because in your email, you're getting messages, let's say in Microsoft Outlook, or maybe your Gmail account or your company account, all right? And there's going to be a something over here that says the person's name, right? And then over here, there's going to be a subject line. And hopefully that subject line is succinct enough for the person that's reading the email to open it up and learn more. So before you even think about putting anything on the newsletter, you should consider to yourself, what do I want to put in as the subject line? What is going to compel a person that receives this email? What is going to compel them to open up that email? All right? So as you're building your newsletter, you want to remember, what is the subject line going to be? All right? Grab the eraser again. Now let's look at the content of the newsletter. I mentioned to you before that there's a banner on, the typical newsletters out there. There's a banner, there's 800,000 things going on the email, and maybe a sidebar and a footer and so on and so forth. Let's trim it down, all right? Really, really easy. Banner, company logo, branding. So you put your information on there, maybe like a really nice wide banner with your logo. Contact information, very important because you want them to see your brand, your logo, and then possibly pick up the phone and start dialing right there. Okay, so self-aggrandization. We'll put our name up at the top. All right, and then the next thing is the content in the middle. All right, no sidebar, no sidebar. All right, again, keep it simple. So what I suggest is break it down into 3 specific areas. 1, 2, 3. And I'll go along the lines of what we put into the newsletters. So typically we want to have something that compels the person to open up the email. They already know what we do most of the time. So we're like, you know what? People are busy. They're, inundated with hundreds of things that they have to deal with. Sometimes they want to take a break. So what we do, and we suggest that you do, is put something up top that is moderately entertaining. Now, I'm not talking about sending a person a video that's an hour long with Jim Norton or George Carlin's comedy act, because they will not watch it whatsoever. I'm thinking of maybe some, cute little things that you could put on. The joke of the week, or music, or art, something that lifts the spirit, right? Because everybody, no matter what field they're in, hopefully they're going to want to take a moment just to reflect on things that lighten the spirit a little bit. And that's what it's all about, right? So, something that's entertaining. In our case, it's a rock video, but of course you can come up with something that's near and dear to your heart. And by the way, remember that you also want to do something that's kind of aligned with who you are. If you're the business professional, you're the founder of the company, there's probably a few things that you really enjoy. Maybe you're an avid golfer. Put some tips out there about golfing, all right? I mean, if you have a lot of customers coming to your site that are avid golfers, maybe you can get on the greens with them. I don't know, I'm just saying. All right, so entertaining. The second is education, all right? And if you notice, when we send out these emails, which you should receive on a bi-weekly basis. I'll talk with you about frequency in a moment. Education is important to us, all right? Because the customers that come to us and stay with us are usually people that are looking to increase their knowledge or wisdom and be able to have the power to be able to do what they need to do, at least some of it in their own hands. So I always use this analogy. Let's say, for instance, you're an accountant or an attorney. You want to educate your audience. You want them to know some of the details of what they can do. And that'll do 2 things. One, it'll increase your efficiency, so that you don't have to do those things. And you're also empowering your client to be able to do those things. And the third thing is of course, they're going to appreciate you. So, how do you do education? You can create a blog with little bits and pieces of information on it. You can create a video. You can also, if you don't have time to do this in a given week, you can create a link to resources that are out there on the web in addition. Because again, they're going to appreciate that you did this. Think about the Kris Kringle effect. Miracle on 34th Street, Santa Claus person comes into Macy's, sits on the lap and says, I want a toy truck or something like that. And Santa Claus is like, you know what, we don't have that at Macy's, but if you take this address down, give it to your mom, head over to Gimbel's, and they can take care of you. And the mom came up to him and said, that was a really nice thing that you did. We're going to shop here all the time. So don't be shy about giving out links to certain resources. I mean, you have to strategically categorize it for your business, but this is a good thing that you're doing for your customers, and they'll appreciate it. And then the third thing, now this could be a variety of different things, okay? What we like to put out there is a call to action. To do something, All right, if you remember our previous video where we talked about different calls to action, we talked about events. So events, networking events, if you're a local networking professional. Pardon the slowness of my writing. Workshops, you know, other places where they can learn information. What else? Coupons. Who doesn't love a deal, huh? Free giveaways. All right? Or maybe just some new service or new product that you're offering to the clientele. Anything that would compel them to click on the item and take you to what? Your website. If this is off camera, that says website. I can't tell from here, unscripted. So those are the three things: entertainment, education, and some sort of a call to action that compels people to click, contact you, buy something off of the website. Where should all of these links go? As best as possible, they should all go to your website. So let's say, for instance, in our case, if we have a fun rock video that we found on YouTube, why not, with permission, you have to get permission, embed that video directly on a page of your website and then create a link on the newsletter that goes over to the page on the website. And in that manner, they're still looking at your branding. They're being entertained, and you are doing the entertaining. Education, same exact thing. The blog, the video, links, all those different pieces can go on the website, your website. And finally, the calls to action, which is the same exact thing. Be able to put the coupons and the free giveaways and the workshops, all those different pieces of information should be on your website. The goal being, now if we go back to the original premise of what we talked about, the first part of this is you want them to see the subject line in your email that you're sending out to them. They're going to click on it because the subject line is compelling. Then they're going to read the email. Hopefully, one of those items will be of interest to them, and they will click and go over to your website, where you can continue to connect with them on a variety of things, be it education, entertainment, or even a call to action. Now, how many people should you expect to click through? Well, first of all, you should have approximately a 20% read rate. Of the, let's use a round number, let's say 1,000 people that you're sending this email out to, with permission by the way, about 200 of them should end up viewing and opening up the email to read it. And that's why you need the good subject line. Of those, approximately, and this is industry standard, approximately 6.9% of those individuals should end up clicking on one of the links that you have in your newsletter and come over to your website. Now, if you have over 6.9%, let's say 7.2, 7.3, that's great. That means that you're on the right track. If you see that you're having a very, kind of a fall off from that number, let's say 5%, 5.5%, it means that you need to do something to change the content of this newsletter, all right? Some other things. Again, keep it nice and simple. We have the banner up at the top. We have the different pieces of content. I recommend 3. You can do 4, but just keep it simple. And then you have a footer. All right, and the footer is going to have your contact information, a link to unsubscribe because you want people to opt in and opt out as they wish. You don't want to force them to look at this newsletter. So you should have information about your company, an unsubscribe button. Most of the newsletter services out there, such as Constant Contact, what's another one? MailChimp is a very good newsletter service. They typically have these unsubscribe buttons and your company information embedded in the footer, so you really don't have to worry about that. Keep the template simple, make it really easy to read. By the way, approximately 65% of emails can be read on a mobile device. Yours should be able to be read on a mobile device as well. And in my opinion, I have some statistics to back this up, but I think that the best day to send out your marketing pieces is later on in the week. All right, and the reason why is because during the beginning of the week, how many people open up their email on Monday morning and they just get deluged with 8,000 things? All right, do you notice a little bit of, maybe it starts to slow down toward the end of the week? That's the time where you want your message front and center with the people that are on the computers at that time. Because you have a little bit more of a captive audience. It just makes sense. And sending emails out maybe like around 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the afternoon. I mentioned this in the previous video. Usually people are coming back from lunch around that time. They're not necessarily engaged in an active project. They want to kind of like ramp up and get into it. They want to see what's going on. And one of the places they do that, in addition to social media, is they look at their email, delete, delete, delete. Oh, look, this email looks interesting. There's a rock video on it. Click, boom, go to website, boom, you're there. So that's it. I don't want to ramble on. I have a tendency of doing that. Hopefully this is of good interest and information to you.